Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday, and welcome into your FreightWaves Now Community Spotlight. I'm Kaylee Nix, and we're here with Grace Sharkey, one of our hosts and writers of The Stockout, our retail and CPG-focused community here at FreightWaves. Grace, it's the last day of September. There's this nice little crisp chill in the air. The leaves are starting to get this gorgeous amber color to them, which means that fall is right around the corner, and spooky season is coming right along with it. Today, we are talking all about Halloween buying habits, the official kickoff to the 2024 holiday season. I got to know, have you purchased your Reese's pumpkins yet?
I'm not gonna lie. I've definitely purchased some Reese's pumpkins. Even got some Reese's eggs for the low a couple weeks ago as well. So we're staying stocked over here, and yeah, it's spooky. Spooky season is my season. If you know me, I'm all about ghosts and scary things and movies and all that stuff. So we are one day away from my favorite month out of the year.
I love it. And as someone who I participate in like the fall side of spooky season, I'm more about like the classic fall than like the scary Halloween, but I have a good appreciation for it. I will say that one place that I really lack is purchasing decor and purchasing costumes and getting into the consumer side of things, right? The fall holidays are kind of that first push of consumers into their holiday spending. We've got some new data from the National Retail Federation that shows that this year, maybe consumers aren't doing as much as they typically are when it comes to spending. Talk to me about some of the data.
Yeah, so unlike us who love this time of year, whether you're a PSL girly, like you said, or you just like to get into spooky season, we do see a 1% drop off in just people looking to celebrate the holiday, which, come on, everyone, let's pick, I think we can earn that 1% back. It's a pretty big survey, but still, I think we can get it back out there. And what's interesting enough, and I think we've talked about this in the past when it comes to just Christmas and the holiday season as well, is as usual, people are planning early. We're looking at seeing people, about 47% of those surveyed are planning on shopping actually before October. So they've been getting those purchases in over this last month, which don't blame them. Go to any grocery store, definitely any like decoration store, and there's been Halloween stuff out for probably the last month at very least. But looks like we're going to be about $11.6 billion in spending this year, which is down just like that 1%, close to about $12.2 billion from last year. Average spending looks like about $100, which is down about just a couple of bucks from last year as well. So for some reason, people aren't feeling the spookiness. Maybe they need a little October surprise, they could say. Maybe if we go into the month with a nice little strike, that'll get them into the season. But we are seeing down numbers so far this year.
When it comes to spending categories, it's pretty standard across the board every single year, right? You've got candy, you've got costumes, you've got decorations. And then I would say you almost have some like pre-holiday Christmas shopping that starts to happen as we get into those cooler months.
Yeah.
Something about the weather changing, I think, just inspires people to start getting prepared for their holiday shopping, right? We see those days push out earlier and earlier. Amazon is actually hosting a second round of Prime Day deals towards the end of the month too, which is, I guess, in a hopes for them to spur some consumer spending. We'll see how that ends up going. But those spending categories are ones that we typically can see continue through the holiday season and even really through the start of the spring, right? You see consumers continue to spend when it comes to clothing and accessories for New Year's Eve. You see, of course, a massive tick up in candy sales when it comes to Valentine's Day. And then we see that kind of drop off the specific holiday spending once we head into the spring and the summer, where there aren't as many holidays to celebrate with that consumerism tag to it, right? Any of these data points kind of surprising to you that we're seeing, an expected 3.5 billion in candy, 3.8 billion in decorations, 3.8 billion in costumes, but also the categories of where they're buying from consumers, discount stores, secondhand, or then new?
I'm not surprised by those numbers, especially just the overall just 1% down aspect makes sense to me. I think people are, that's a good 1% you can push over into more of the holiday season giving gifts as well. Especially, this holiday in particular, sometimes weather can absolutely destroy it. There's nothing worse than putting together a really nice costume to just have your kid get rained on for a certain period of time. So I'm not surprised by it. I think the 37% of shoppers going to discount stores is smart way to save money maybe for the holiday, more Christmas, Hanukkah, all that season as well. Especially because I will say, I mean, some of these discount stores have pretty decent items for something that you don't necessarily need the best quality, right? For if you just want to decorate your apartment or just put up a few things, those kind of like sparkly pumpkins, like you said. Maybe you want to get a little less spooky, just a little bit more fall-y. I think those discount stores are a really great place for people to go. Again, 33% are going to specialty stores like Spirit Halloween and things of that nature, which can sometimes be a little bit more on the expensive side, but it sounds like overall the spending will be down a little bit. Again, not surprised by that. Especially in particular, I did recently see a survey too for the holiday season showcasing that people were actually going to be trying to find ways to spend that money on themselves, buying themselves gifts. So, hey, if you can cut a little bit off of Halloween, which how dare you, but let's say, you cut a little bit off Halloween to buy yourself something nicer for the holiday season. Not surprised by that information at all.
So, of course, everybody's talk continues to revolve around inflation and the fact that prices are higher than they were a year ago. What about with specialty decor like this? There's no data that came out of this NRF study, but can you talk to me a little bit maybe about some anecdotal evidence? Are consumers paying more but getting less for some of these holiday decorations? And is that a trend that we'll see when we see the data come out from the 2024 holiday season as a whole? Is that maybe folks spent a little more but ended up getting a little less item wise?
Yeah, it's interesting because I think even when you look at the top activities that people are planning on spending this money on, throwing a party was like the last one. A lot of it's focused more on handing out candy, decorating, dressing up in particular. So I think it's these more less expensive activities that people are going to be planning on spending their money for the Halloween season. Showcases that extra mindfulness of where costs are currently, right? You're not going to be spending on expensive groceries, expensive party favors, etc. Just focusing those dollars on your own, maybe individual families in particular. And also just the fact that a lot of people are looking, right, to go to those discount stores. And even, I was just in like a Goodwill a couple weeks ago and it seemed more crowded than ever. And I think people are looking at what are ways that I can, of course, celebrate the holiday, but do it at a discounted cost. And I think a lot of the points in this survey point to that as well.
Any thoughts on what you're dressing up as for Halloween? Do you plan to buy a new costume, make something out of what's in your closet, or go vintage and find something at the thrift store?
That's a great question. I recently did have to put together a Beyonce costume for a bachelorette party, so I do technically have something ready to go. And that actually, I got that outfit from a Goodwill as well. So technically, I could go as that. I've got actually a lot of things in my back closet that I could technically pull out too. So, hey, just like I said, I think people are trying to find different ways to be creative. If anything, I might actually go out into the discount stores and maybe find a couple of new items. I like to do that every year, like find a couple of new decorations and just something new to kind of brighten up the spirit a little bit more. But if I was a kid and I was an adult with no children, I'd be princess every year, because so just how I picture myself. So, yeah. Whoever the newest Disney princess is, maybe that's what I would probably go for. What about you, Kaylee? If you could dress up, if we had a FreightWaves Halloween party, what are you going as?
I'm coming as the tender rejection chart because it's still really scary for people who are in the continued freight recession. That's an absolute joke. No, we
I
host
love that.
we host an annual pumpkin carving party at my house every single year. I think this year, me and my significant other and our dog are gonna dress up as the folks from Jurassic Park because my 5-year-old Australian Shepherd
Oh,
is genuinely a velociraptor hiding in a fursuit. So we're gonna make that his personality.
you just reminded me. I'll probably be buying pet costumes that my cats will not enjoy wearing. So, Yes. So maybe I'm not saving money this year. We just figured out that, and that right there is the American spirit in a whole.
Exactly. Last year we dressed Goose up as a lobster and the costume lasted for all of about 5 minutes. And then there was lobster tail just shredded all over my backyard. So I will report back in November for our first edition of the Stockout Community Update on whether that Velociraptor costume actually lasts or not.
Hey, I'll remember it. I love to hear it.
There we go. All right, Grace, thanks for joining us this morning. We've got the Stockout Show coming to you live here in just a few minutes. Have a great rest of your week, and we will catch up with you next Monday.